Take me out, will you? Just do me a solid and take me out.
Okay.
Just play a SIG at 220 with it.
Yeah?
If we want to play that game.
Amy, whenever you're ready.
I'm all set.
Is it recording?
Yes,
Is it? Oh,
I did it before it,
oh, okay.
I did it in
Sorry.
reverse.
Okay. Welcome, everybody. The time is now 3:30, and I hereby call the March 18th meeting of the St. Joseph County Area Plan Commission to order. This meeting is being held in person and virtually on the fourth floor chambers of the County City Building. We will first ask for any public comment from those in the chambers, then from members in the public attending remotely. For public comment from those attending remotely, please use the raise hand function or message the host in the chat. Please clearly state your name and address for the record. We ask that board members state their name when making a motion and a second. At this time, please silence your cell phones so they do not disturb the meeting. Can we have the roll call, please?
Adam Devon,
Present.
Tom England, Mr. Dieter,
Present, Ms. Carpenter.
Miss Hannon,
Present.
Dr. Lauk,
Present.
Mr. Roush, Mr. Matzat,
Present.
Mr. Tavernier,
Present.
Dr. Thacker,
Present.
Thank you, Amy. We are a 9-member commission. We currently have 7 members present and 0 attending remotely today. If any petitioner would prefer to have their petition heard when more members might be present, they may ask staff to have their item tabled to a future meeting when more members might be present. At that time, can we please have the reading for the first petition on the rezoning?
a proposed ordinance of Hedgecroft LLC to zone from A Agricultural District to PUD Planned Unit Development District, property located at unaddressed 69.36 plus or minus acre parcel at the northeast of the intersection of Spruce Road and US 20, St. Joseph County APC number 3062-25.
Okay, good afternoon. This is Carl Brown Grimm, Area Plan Commission staff. So as Amy just said, this property is a large, nearly 70-acre tilled farm parcel at the northeast intersection of Spruce Road and US Highway 20 out on the west side of the county, just outside of New Carlisle. The petitioner today has filed for a rezoning to a planned unit development district. You don't see these too often, but they are essentially a build-your-own zoning district. In the county, this works well when developers are planning a mix of uses that don't typically mesh with the way that our zoning ordinance was written. In this case, they need some flexibility with their planned mix of commercial and residential uses with varying types of density, from denser multi-unit dwellings to less dense single-family dwellings, along with an open space amenity for the proposed community located around Taylor Ditch in the center of the property. You can find their full proposed ordinance, including the permitted uses and development standards in your packet. And a little later on, they have provided some slides that give like kind of a conceptual overview of what the property may look like when it is fully built out. We'll go over there when we get there. As I mentioned, this property is currently a large tilled farm property, along with many of the surrounding parcels. Directly in the center of the property is Taylor Ditch, as seen here. The immediate area, as you can imagine, around the ditch is part of the DNR approximate floodway. The petitioner is not intending to build in this area. That's about halfway, so then the rest of the property to the north is again more of that tilled farm. The parcel abutting directly to the east is a single-family home, split from the larger farm field behind it. The parcel abutting to the west across Spruce Road is also a large tilled farm field. The parcels abutting immediately to the south are single-family homes. As you can kind of see in the background here, immediately beyond these homes are another field, and then beyond that is the Cleveland Cliffs Tech and Coat facility. So we're really talking about the edge of the IEC core development area here. Here's an initial site plan kind of showing the general layout of the development. The red towards US 20 represents kind of commercial. The orange in the middle is a sort of commercial residential flex. The darker gray, higher residential. The lighter gray, less dense residential. And then the green is kind of left open for open space and amenities for the development. The development is proposed to be served by Town of New Carlisle Municipal Water and City of South Bend Municipal Sewer. This site plan here shows the proposed road layout. The plan is showing one access onto US 20, which, as you know, is up to NDOT, and then 4 accesses onto Spruce Road, which will need to be approved by the county engineer, who has commented that they would require the developer to perform a traffic study to determine if turn lanes and/or acceleration or deceleration lanes would be required for safety. In addition, the engineer has commented that they will need to meet county standards for drainage as well as roadway construction. As you can see, most of the interior streets are proposed to be new public streets. Additionally, the New Carlisle Fire Department has commented they will want to make sure that as the development gets built out, the lanes and roadways are going to be adequately sized for their fire apparatus access, and that new hydrant locations will need to meet accessibility and safety standards. John Law with the Drainage Board has commented that the proposal appears to have no impact on Taylor Ditch or the maintenance easement on either side, except for potential utilities, and then also provides guidance for how to safely locate said utilities. Mary, sorry, could you please click on the PowerPoint?
Sorry about that.
You're good. So these are the slides provided by the developer that shows kind of a conceptual plan for what the development may look like, kind of turning those colors into buildings. You see, again, the commercial, light commercial at the front, a mix of residential and commercial in the middle, transitioning to residential of varying densities in the back. Moving on to our state law guidelines to consider with rezoning, staff finds that the proposal does advance a few goals in the recently adopted Plan SJC 2045 Comprehensive Plan, specifically goals 1 and 3 from the Housing and Neighborhoods pillars, which calls for encouraging a variety of housing types and ensuring that new housing has access to municipal services. These are met in this case by the varying types of density proposed and the connection to both New Carlisle and City of South Bend services. Goal 1 of the economic development pillar calls for promoting the highlighted priority areas for new investment, including the area around New Carlisle under which this parcel falls. On the other side of the coin, recommendation D of Goal 1 in the government and policy pillar seeks to discourage leapfrog development, which is appropriate, and in this case, given the lack of development immediately surrounding the parcel, this could be a challenge. But then we look at the land use section of the plan. Plan SJC does highlight this area for medium density residential growth, which is appropriate when transitioning away from the IEC core out to the lower density areas as you go north in the county. While it's not directly under the jurisdiction of the Town of New Carlisle, they also have highlighted this parcel in their future character area of their recently adopted comprehensive plan as a mixed residential neighborhood, which calls for a mix of housing types compatible with what the developer is proposing on the residential side of this proposal. You have seen the current conditions and character, so we'll move on to most desirable use. Because this property has frontage on both an arterial and a local road, it has access to town and city utilities and is on the periphery of the IEC core development area. Staff does find that the development of light commercial uses on the south side of the parcel is desirable, and the planned residential uses of varying density, again, as a property transitions away from the arterial into the north part, is desirable as well. In terms of conservation of property values, the value of the tilled agricultural fields that border this parcel to the north, east, and west are unlikely to change from this proposed development. However, staff did have some concerns stemming from the effects of the commercial development on the single family homes to the south and the one immediately to the east. However, this can be lessened by landscaping and kind of thoughtful design of the final site, and I think these slides here kind of show that the developer has considered that. Finally, staff does believe, based on the infrastructure available, that this proposal does represent responsible development and growth, and we do recommend primary approval for the rezoning to PUD to be sent to the County Council with a favorable recommendation. At this point, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Carl. Any questions by the commission?
Yeah, I got one.
Go ahead.
Under C, we're talking about your trails and stuff out there. Is that developer gonna build trails when they're doing this or afterwards or?
Sure, so the proposal does have some open space. The developer can talk more to the specifics of what they're planning, but I think maybe that could be a consideration for that green area that they showed as open space.
Any other questions at this time? Okay, we will have the presentation. So we have 30 minutes for the petitioner.
Thank you. Mr. President, members of the commission, my name is Stephen Studer. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Krieg DeVault with office at 4101 Edison Lakes Parkway, Mishawaka, Indiana, 46545. With me this afternoon are representatives of the developers as well as Mr. Brian McMorrow of V3 who put together the petition and the site plan. I will endeavor to make this presentation fairly brief since I suspect you will have some questions. We are here today seeking your favorable recommendation to rezone an approximately 70-acre parcel at the northeast corner of Spruce Road and US 20 from A agricultural to PUD, which is a planned unit development. This is an exciting project, one intended to address the very acute need for housing and other services in the western part of St. Joseph County. In preparation of our petition, we met with the project advisory team last September, with an additional meeting this February with other county officials again. Though the site's approximately 2 miles from the east side of New Carlisle, several town officials were included in the project advisory team meeting at the time, including fire officials and utility members, et cetera. Essentially, this project is what we refer to as a mixed-density suburban village, where residents can enjoy a walkable, a livable community with local amenities. With the village green, as you can see that we're proposing a number of open spaces with the village green. To your comment, Mr. Dieter, will be trail connections, including hopefully with the new Continental Trail Divide. We anticipate and encourage trails. In fact, one of the things we're proposing is across the Taylor Ditch, there'll be a walkable bridge, so it won't be vehicular, but it'll be a walkable bridge, so people can go north and south and bike ride as well as walk. With the village green, as we've talked about, the trail connections, there's a stream corridor that we'll be preserving. It will be anchored by light commercial on US 20. One of the comments we received at the project advisory team meeting was that general commercial would be welcomed at this area to stop the spreading of industrial sprawl from going to the north side of US 20. So they saw this project as maybe prohibiting or disencouraging, if there's such a word, of industrial moving north. So this is a nice general commercial area. There will be, we kind of think of this as Heritage Square, but Heritage Square light, much more oriented towards housing and less towards commercial. With respect to housing, we expect to have up to 265 dwelling units, home ownership, and about 250 rental spots. So close to 500 units for either sale or for rent. We expect to offer childcare, restaurants, coffee shops, other neighborhood services in the what we call the urban flex area there in the front with commercial. So it's really oriented towards housing, but we have some light commercial to address as well, which will help keep the costs of the rest of the commercial properties and residential properties lower. We're pleased to have the staff favorable recommendation. And as they noted, both the St. Joe County and the New Carlisle comprehensive plans support medium-density development in this area. We ask, therefore, that you forward this to the county council with a favorable recommendation. We're more than happy to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Any questions?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I'm Molly. I'm the New Carlisle person here, so I have a couple questions.
Sure, of course.
The streets that are pointing toward the north on the parcel, is there a plan to continue this development farther outside, or are those just access needs for development? On the right side of the drawing is...
To the right side, that's
north.
north, and no, we don't own that property, and we wouldn't be developing any further to the north than that.
Okay.
In fact, I think you run into a solar farm not too far from there.
Yeah, okay. And then I heard 250 rentals. What was the other housing type? Was it single family or?
Single-family dwellings, the lots are as narrow as 30 feet, but they could be purchased in lots of two to three to make larger. So we don't expect to have cookie-cutter houses. So somebody might buy a 30-foot lot, somebody might buy two 30s. So we're opening a very flexible process because we're not sure exactly what the market's going to support out there. We know that we need about 125 to 200 units a year out in that part of the county and under the new housing study. This will go a long ways to start that process. We anticipate there'll be more housing coming out there, but this will be the first shot to provide that flexibility.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
What's the Continental Divide Trail? I've never heard of that. Or the one that goes north and south?
I'm sorry, what's that again?
Continental Divide Trail?
Yeah, this would be an offshoot of this, anticipated that when you look at the overall plan, because the Continental goes from Potato Creek Park all the way north, but they're looking at offshoots of those Continental Divide trails that would be bike trails that would go through the Amazon and other sites. We haven't seen a definitive plan, but we have seen preliminary plans where they're talking about expanding that
So there
trail.
currently isn't, because I've never heard of it, the
Yeah.
Midwest.
It's called the
That's in
Midwest,
works?
pardon me?
That's in the works?
It's one of the programs, they talked about the Midwest Continental Divide Trail, right? And there'll be other bike trails that would connect to New Carlisle as well. So we're anticipating trails, we're welcoming trails through the project on the east to west on the property. As well, we'll have our own trails, internal trails, because we want this to be a walkable community and people can take bikes from,
But currently,
north to
I
south.
I do trail stuff all the time. There's no trail currently, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
I have another question.
Sure, of course.
The housing type for the multifamily, what is the vision for, because we've just finished our comp plan. We're working on code for the town of New Carlisle, and building type and form is very important. Is that something you guys have, I'm guessing you've been kind of told about that, but multifamily, I think, is something that's important of what it looks like and what it feels like. Is that something you guys have investigated at this point, or
In
of
terms
the
of
building
architect,
form of what that multifamily looks like?
so
Like, is it
architectural
like-
styles, you mean?
Yeah, and the massing, that kind of thing.
I don't think we have any elevations, but I would say that these developers, their past projects include Eddy Street Commons, all that area, all the high rises there, the apartment buildings, the overlook properties, for instance. So we would consider them a high-end developer in terms of what they want. This is going to be a very, very expensive project, which is one of the reasons we needed some commercial to offset the cost, because housing is very expensive as it is. So we don't have any elevations at this time, but I can assure you that there'll be a good-looking project.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? But
Have there been any studies or concerns about, with covering that much surface, future problems with flooding for the housing that's in that area?
No, you can see that we have to retain all the water by county regulation and county ordinance. We have to retain all the water on our site. That's kind of represented by those large blue retention ponds.
Right.
And then there's the Taylor ditches right there as well, and I think Mr. Dean can talk to that. So, the Taylor ditch, we don't, according to Mr. Law, we don't see an additional impact on Taylor ditch, but we do have the drainage, the retention ponds there on site, and we have to retain on-site water under the county ordinance.
Okay. Anybody else? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and open this to the public. First, if we have anybody in person wishing to speak in favor of this project, please come forward and state your name and address. You have 3 minutes.
Good afternoon, Deborah Durrell, 21677 Naughton Road, South Bend. I am not speaking 100% for or 100% against this project because it is really new to me to be able to dig into what the pros and cons might be. But I do appreciate the presentation, and I especially appreciate the intentions to keep the ditch and the green space, green ways and trails. I think, based on the description we've heard today, there are a lot of good aspects to this. We do need housing. I think the commercial aspect, it depends on exactly what kind of commercial is there as to whether it is going to be beneficial to the other people living around there. I also want to just note that there's an awful lot of reducing easements and buffers that is happening along these ditches, and I think that is a negative. And also, sometimes these intentions that we hear from the developer at the front end of proposing the project, they change without much notice as they are going through the project. So I would be very cautiously in support of this as long as the intentions stay and the green spaces stay and the effect on the waters are not increased. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah.
Good afternoon, Bill Shalio, County Economic Development Director, here in support of this project. I'll support it 100%, so from a percentage standpoint. But no, we've been working with the developers for quite some time, understand the bigger vision here, the opportunity to create some village nodes in and around the New Carlisle area. We think this is a good opportunity for a first project out of the gate. We're looking at some bigger improvements along the US 20 corridor, a number of intersections. This one at Spruce certainly is one of those, so how this plays into those improvements as we move forward certainly will be a key factor, but would lend my support to this project. Any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Bill.
Good afternoon, Dan Caruso, New Carlisle. I'm kind of like Deborah. I'm torn. I like, we're getting some housing. We definitely need some housing. But as Molly brought up, the town, I was involved with both the county comp plan and the town comp plan. And as Carl stated in his summary, the town envisioned this area as mixed residential. That's housing. No commercial, not PUD. This is my main question about this development, that there's going to be Dollar General, 7-Eleven, a gas station. There's going to be commercial uses down, whether they're along 20 or whatever. Our town plan was to bring people into the residential areas, the new residential areas, and attract them to the existing downtown. If you put commercial development over here in this PUD area, which the town envisioned as mixed residential, you're going to be taking business away from the town where we're trying to attract it. I think we're shooting ourselves in the foot with this classification PUD. If it was strictly mixed residential, that'd be wonderful. I think the PUD, chance kind of stabbing the town people in the back. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Might I say that's highly optimistic. As a fellow Sox fan, I appreciate you supporting after last season, so. Anybody else wishing to speak in favor of this petition, please come forward and state your name and address. Seeing none. Anybody on Zoom wishing to speak in favor of this petition, please use the raise hand feature.
I think there was one on Zoom.
Can't. Is there a way to see more than just the one name on there?
It was Mary who wanted to speak.
Is that Mary Countryman, Dan?
Mary, were you wanting to speak in favor?
Against.
Okay. Against, okay. Anybody else? I can't tell if, can you drag that down maybe? Drag the whole
here.
screen down? Leave it on gallery, but drag the box down, or no?
Oh my gosh.
Okay, take a breath.
There we go.
There you go, there you go, okay.
No pressure.
Okay. Seeing nobody else, I will now close this to the in favor. She said she's against. Anybody present wishing to speak against this petition, please come forward and state your name and address. Seeing none. Anybody online wishing to speak against this petition? Mary?
Hi, Mary Countryman, 52959 Timothy Road, New Carlisle. I am not 100% against some more housing in New Carlisle, but I do want to say section 2 where it says not injurious to public health, safety, general welfare of community, I disagree because of the traffic. And also the land use being compatible with the St. Joe County Comp Plan. Leapfrog development, this is leapfrog development. There are subdivisions not complete in this area that could be used first. But, so it definitely is against the town of New Carlisle plan of prioritizing completion of, although the little map shows it to be acceptable. So there's two different ways to look at that. But this also goes against the short-term New Carlisle strategy number 10 listed as a short-term, less than 2-year high priority concerning shifting traffic from Highway 20 to Highway 2. There is already excess traffic coming through our town while drivers are trying to avoid the Highway 2 traffic mess. Highway 2 should have been revised and redone before any of the IEC work started. And perhaps there's a lesson to be learned from that mistake. Before adding even more traffic to Highway 20, do the road work and revisions first to avoid more wrecks and more accidents. There's already slow, big trucks pulling out onto Highway 20, and adding more of them would be irresponsible. There's going to be more accidents. And more than a traffic study is needed, actual highway improvements with 2 lanes or turning lanes or something needs to be done before contributing to an already dangerous highway, which it never used to be that bad. But as witnessed from many of the projects in the past, this will most likely pass. It'll go through. But for the love of God and the safety of all of the residents, current and future, get the highway fixed before starting this. During the presentation, I heard mention of bicycling and walkability. There's no sidewalks out there. It's not like people are going to have an easy time going in, walking into town or bicycling through town. There's no paths on the highway. They're going to have to be out on the road. So I also haven't heard any mention of costs, prices of rent, costs of lots.
30 seconds, Mary.
But like I said, I am not 100% against this, but I think there needs to be a lot more questions asked, and please fix the road before it gets any worse, because we're just going to end up with 2 major highways with massive problems. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Steve?
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yep, go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, thanks. Steve Francis, Judy Lake Drive, Clay Township. Yeah, there's pros and cons to this project. My main concern is that this is a very intensive project that really deserves more scrutiny by the Area Plan Commission and the various entities along the way. And yet you only get one shot at it. If you wanted to put written commitments on, you got to do it on the fly right now. And I just think it doesn't serve the APC, the commission, to have to do that on this kind of complicated, complex, intensive project. The other thing, and so I would encourage you to take more time to do that rather than just passing this on favorably. I too object to the leapfrog development approach. I mean, you get someone who wants to sell land, and then someone wants to plunk down a PUD here that's very complex and very intensive out in the middle of agricultural area. We lose more agricultural land. I realize it's along Highway 20, so that might likely happen, but you're going to have infill all around that, and people then wanting to sell land. The speculators come in, and pretty soon you've got the whole area coming at you in terms of developing these projects. I think some of the environmental stuff that they've included are kind of slapped in there because this is not near the Midwest, the Continental Divide projects. I don't think that's down near too. several miles away. I do feel like 70 acres for all of this. It's wide open what they put in there. There are no restrictions on the commercial activity other than what's, there's tons of things listed. Like to see more definition of that by the APC before you okay planned unit developments, to get a site plan that's a little more developed. And all the different densities, I just don't see how they pack that in there. It's going to look very strange out there 2 miles away with ag land surrounding it. And I feel for the people living across the road because traffic and, I don't take developers' promises. They have to be written and in contract. That it'll look good. Just rest upon us. Eddy Street Commons. No, that's a plan that was developed in the city. I live near it. Same with Heritage Square to some extent. A different kind of development than this one is with 70 acres. I just think that you ought to take a step back, not issue a favorable recommendation, and then think about in advance. Staff should be suggesting some written commitments for you in advance rather than disregarding some of the areas in which it does not fit with the comprehensive plan, such as leapfrog development, ag land, and so on. Thanks very much for listening to me.
Good timing on that one, Steve. Okay. Thank you, Steve. Anybody else online wishing to speak against this petition, please use the raise hand feature. Seeing none, I will now close this to the public. And petitioner Stephen, you have, I think, 10 minutes to rebut?
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't know that I need all that much. So let me respond to the question about Taylor's Ditch. As Mr. Dieter knows, we can't build in a floodplain, floodway, so we're already prohibited from that. That's going to remain green space. We intend to spruce it up. We hope to have a pedestrian bridge cross over it, but we're not going to build into that green corridor where we can't do that. It's interesting about development and leapfrogging. I can tell you that plans go back to the last century where this is going to be a village called the village or the hamlet of Plainfield. So almost 100 years ago, they were planning having some type of hamlet village out here, just never got developed. If you're the first, you're going to be leapfrogged. I mean, no matter where we start, somebody's going to argue that we're leapfrogging. Well, we don't want to force people to sell their property. When we have people that are willing to sell their property and we can develop a project of this nature and this extent, then we're going to take advantage of that. You know, we have this acute need for housing, but everybody says, well, build all the housing east in the county, don't put anything west. Well, we need housing in the west. We have thousands of new jobs coming in, billions of dollars of development, and we want people to be able to live out there and be part of the community, and that's what this does. I agree with the traffic issues. I will tell you that we were encouraged by the staff over a year ago when we first proposed this project to put the housing in this commercial up here as opposed to a State Road 2 because of the traffic. They want to make that industrial. They want to make that heavy commercial, and they encouraged us to move to US 20. Eventually, the roads will be fixed. We know there's going to be an interchange there. We know State Road 2 is going to be redone. That's going to take time. No road project gets done in 6 months or a year, unfortunately. But over time, we're seeing a higher increase of traffic in US 20. That's because of US State Road 2. But that will mollify itself over time. This is where we should have housing, is up on 20, where it's a quieter corridor, and it's not going to be State Road 2 where the trucks are using it as much. So I think, but there's always a debate between keep it as it is or improve it in terms of housing and jobs and things. And, you know, the county has determined, and we certainly respect and appreciate Mr. Shalio's comments, that this is an area that we've been identifying for housing and for light commercial. We're not going to put a Dollar General up here, trust me. That's not the goal. It's not part of the plan. These are coffee shops, ice cream shops. These are neighborhood stores and for the nearly 500 residents. And by the way, those are dwelling units. So remember, they'll come with children, hopefully. And so we hope to have more than 1,000 people out there over time. So these amenities are going to be built for their benefit, but also for anybody visiting. And not only the workers that are there now and the people that are coming to manage these projects and everything else, but people from New Carlisle, other people going by. We expect this to be a very nice, attractive community, a suburban village, and we hope it's very successful. but we would ask again that your favorable recommendation. I didn't hear candidly anything we hadn't heard before in terms of the pros and cons, and to get Mr. Caruso's half-hearted endorsement was a good thing to hear today. We appreciate that. But again, we're happy to answer any questions, but I think we provided a very extensive, it's a long ordinance, it's 60-some pages, very detailed. But it basically is an amalgamation of all the current zoning areas for commercial, housing, everything else, put into one ordinance, as Carl has noticed. So happy to answer any other questions you may have.
Yeah, Stephen, I'll just make a comment. I mean, I know you gave a presentation, but I mean, for a lot of people, maybe they didn't see it, as part of the packet, there was a pretty extensive kind of detail about the whole PUD, what's allowed, what's not allowed, all that stuff that I think a lot of people might not realize that as part of the PUD was part
Right.
of what's presented. So I don't know if you want to elaborate more on that or not.
Well,
but-
I can tell you that it is a very detailed ordinance because it stands on its own. But for instance, on page 17, we start talking to the major land use areas and what can be done in those areas. The building types, the uses, the building size, the dimensions, everything is very well set out and detailed. And again, we borrowed heavily from the current zoning areas that would be similar in nature if we were only doing, for instance, housing or commercial. So the park requirements, what can be done, the urban neighborhood, what that would entail, the types of houses and carriage houses or detached homes, the limits on accessory buildings. We would expect that there's going to be a homeowners association affiliated with this development at some point, and they'll be adopting their own covenants and regulations to manage their own properties, right? We don't tend to be overseeing what they want to do. If they want to, you know, we've added alleys in the back so we don't have trash in the front. We've really made this a first-class, I mean, out of the box, to borrow Mr. Shalley's comment, out of the box, this is a very, very progressive project in terms of providing high-end residential, light commercial, and providing community space that everybody is welcome to use, by the way. There's not going to be a sign that says if you're from New Carlisle, or you're from South Bend, or you're from elsewhere in Olive Township, don't come in. It's all going to be public. And we expect with some of these potential soccer fields or playground fields that will attract other people. We're hoping to do that. And the restaurants and the coffee shops and the ice cream shops are going to want to know that people are going to come in and elsewhere as well. So this provides a lot of community opportunity for people to come and use those services. So, and again, we have a terrific need out there right now. Right now, people are you know, there's nothing out there for them right now. They can go to New Carlisle, they can go to South Bend, but the high traffic count on State Road 2 is really almost prohibitive for anything. As you know, we're trying to develop commercial on State Road 2. It's just very, very tough right now with the traffic. This project on US 20, over time, it's going to be a nice residential corridor, and that's what we're hoping to bring. We hope to jumpstart other projects by having this project in place.
Questions? Quiet over there, DJ. You're awful quiet over there. Anybody? Brett?
I might mention, I appreciate the need for the housing in the area. But again, and the connection to the comprehensive plans for both New Carlisle and the county. But again, I hate to see agricultural land put into other uses. Again, with all the surrounding area that's still agricultural. Again, this could lead to demise the whole area for agricultural production. I mention this today because today is National Agricultural Day. Indiana ranks nationally #1 in duck production, popcorn, gourd production, #2 in pumpkins, #3 in egg production, which again is pretty important with the prices of eggs these days. #3 in tomatoes and spearmint. I grew up on a mint farm in North Judson and appreciate that. It's also ranked 3rd for croplands that are planted with a cover crop, which is important for conserving our agricultural land and making them sustainable. We're #4 in soybeans, turkeys, again hit hard by the avian influenza, 4th in peppermint, 5th in corn and hogs, and 6th in watermelon. When we lose this land, Indiana's ranking in this is going to probably go down, and it's just, where do we stop? Where do we have a balance between development as well as agriculture production to feed our world?
I appreciate that. I actually own a farm. I live on a farm, small farm, admittedly, and I cash rent it to another farmer because I don't have the ability to do that. Yeah, farmland is very important, right? But with the advent of the IEC out here, and this is in the IEC, that farmland is going to be developed, and we think this is a better use some of that farmland than some of the potential uses it could be. So there is a lot of, most of the people that have sold their farmland have reinvested in farmland in other areas. And there is farmland for sale, and there's also farmland that's not in production. So we have the ability, to continue to farm, and I think Indiana is always going to be an agricultural state at its heart. But I think that when we have a willing farmer, and for whatever reason, estate planning reasons, age, whatever it might be, I mean, I recently had a situation where the farmer was in his late 80s and his children didn't want to farm. Well, the only thing you do is get value out of that land, right? Nobody else is going to buy it. And so we want to also be fair to the farmer, right? Not just to farming, but to the farmer who have put maybe decades and decades and maybe several generations, but they need to get out for whatever reason. And most of those that are younger enough are buying land elsewhere and farming elsewhere, which was great. But sometimes, you have to look at the market and say, this is the highest and best use for this property. And who knows what's going to happen? I mean, there's a lot of development. There's already a solar farm immediately to the north of this. So candidly, I don't want to see another solar farm here. I think this is a much better use of the property. Again, it addresses a need that the county and New Carlisle, even though we're 2 miles outside of New Carlisle, and we certainly respect New Carlisle's opinions, trust us. That's why we met with them, and we'll continue to work with them. But we're 2 miles to the east of New Carlisle. We think that's going to benefit New Carlisle. It's going to benefit the rest of the people in the county. But you have this acute housing need that we just spent a lot of money on housing studies, and it's like, we need housing. You're not going to put it downtown South Bend. You're not going to put it, and the other thing is, there's not available land sometimes. It might be better used if we could put it next to South Bend. There's no available land, right? And so we run into that all the time where people don't want to sell the property. We respect that. When somebody does want to sell the property, we can come up with a project like this that really benefits a large part of the community and addresses already identified needs of the county, including the comprehensive plans of both St. Joe County and New Carlisle. We think this is a good project. But we certainly respect, as I said, I'm a farmer like that. I can't buy more land. There's no more land to buy. But it happens.
Thanks.
Okay, I'll make a couple comments. Obviously, I think it's, out in nothing's really developed there yet, and I think always a big gamble, a big risk, but I do like the concept of what this brings. I think yes, you have a portion of light commercial type work, but I do think that's going to really bring more residential in the long run. Being a builder myself, and I mean, you've seen how different areas have evolved over the last 20, 25 years. Residences are going to be brought more around. Now, I know what Dan said earlier and Deborah about taking the stuff away from downtown, but really, it's kind of almost like I think of, like the CVS's are always going next to the other, Walgreens, or the auto shops are always going next to the other, it's going to bring more residential that I think will bring more people. Well, then it's like a trickle effect in my mind, the way I see it. I think it's going to get more residences, more single family and multifamily around that and kind of grow. But I think it's a good mixture of what could bring good development. So. And
that's been our experience too. I mean, you look at downtown Mishawaka where you put one apartment building in, now you get three. Where you do, Eddy Street Commons, you put one place in and you have three. It does attract additional people and additional businesses, and over time we expect that to be the case here. And we think New Carlisle, we're big proponents of New Carlisle. We think it's going to thrive. But that's going to be up to them to some extent. But I think this is going to draw people, and you want people that are living there to be able to walk and have some of their services right there, whether it be dry cleaners or whatever it might be. So, thank you.
Good.
When I was a commissioner a while ago, and before my district was taken away, one of the first things that I did when I was out there, when IEC was rolling, and that's when I met Dan and Deborah and Mary Countryman, and the people there, as you see, they just want their voices to be heard and they want the input. And I just thank you guys for doing that, because they're the ones that live out there. This is going to affect them. And for the naysayers, which that's fine, still 75% of that land out there is agriculture, even after with this, if it goes, and everything else. So I appreciate your guys' interest in the people who it's going to affect, listening to their ideas. I know, is that master plan still in the works, or is that out? We don't know yet? Okay. Because that was a lot of the input to citizens, so that's all that they ever asked for. Right.
Yeah,
It's
passed.
up and running, okay. So I appreciate all your work, and I'm fully
Thank you.
supportive of this. Sure.
I don't know why you looked at me first, like I was in trouble. All right, so I got a few things that I want to say. I think the growth to New Carlisle that's going to come is, I think it's this gives the opportunity for the people that are outgrowing their houses in New Carlisle to move to a potentially bigger house, and then let other families come in and occupy those houses that they're moving out of, right? So I don't necessarily think or agree with that this is stabbing New Carlisle in the back. I think it's going to help growth. And with Amazon and GM, I think it's inevitable, right? This is 70 acres, whereas Amazon and GM, were how many acres total? I don't think this is the last time we'll see this particular project. At least I don't think it'll be the last time I see it, especially with BZA, right? And we all know that State Road 2 is going to be redone. We all know that there's work that needs to be done to State Road 2. We know that there's a traffic study that needs to be done. The county's not going to let certain things happen without these steps being put in place. And I understand that there's 4 or 5 people here that are not 100% against this or 100% for this, right? But I don't think you're ever going to have a project. You're never going to have any kind of growth anywhere that's going to appease everybody, right? The cost of lots and the cost of rent, that's all going to be determined on the facility, the infrastructure, the project cost. So there's no way for anybody to know any of that today, right? We can project it, but there's zero chance to know exactly what that's going to be. The one thing that I'll agree with Steve, which is why I hope I see this project in the future, is that right now it is hard for us to put written commitments on this, right? Because we don't know, we don't have an actual site plan of this project or this building's going to go here, this is going to go there. We don't want to see this. We do want to see this. So I would agree that it would be nice to put some written commitments on this, but this won't be the last time we see it. So if nobody else has anything, Molly does. Sorry.
Yeah, I have to say, when we heard that this parcel was purchased for maybe apartments or, all the colorful words that were really scary, you picture the worst development potentially that was happening out there. So I'm glad to see and hear, and I might be naive to the people who say I shouldn't trust the developer, so I'm sorry, but that's all I have to go on right now. I do appreciate the level of the plans referring to the Eddy Street Common and Heritage Square and things like that, because we are a very proud community with our architectural standards, our historic downtown, and so anything that we see come towards us, we want to be there for a very long time and to look nice and to have, happy homes and the walkable features for those residents, for the parks, things like that. I do appreciate that. I own a building downtown. I have tenants. I own a small business. All my friends do. And we right now are in a growing phase where we really need people to come downtown and support our businesses. And so it is painful to think that, you know, maybe someone will be driving and never come to downtown because they're like, oh, cool, there's a whatever here, right? We have a coffee shop, we have an ice cream shop that's really cute because you walk up and there's a bowling alley, and we have all these really wonderful things. However, I'm not naive. I understand the, you know, cost implications of this. Like you said, that there is a balance of the commercial aspect that needs to happen, right, to have this developed. So it's hard, but again, knowing what we had in our mind was a very scary, like, columnar building in the middle of the field. This is a lot more settling, and that there are a lot of delineated design features that you guys have seem to look at our comp plan. I would very much encourage any interaction with us as we're working with our consultant for our new town code, and that will heavily, hopefully, impact the design phase when you get to the architectural pieces of it. And so, yeah, thank you.
Anybody else? Do we have a motion?
Move for favorable recommendation?
Second.
We have a motion and a second for a favorable recommendation for APC 3062-25 to the St. Joseph County Council with a favorable recommendation. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Dr. Thacker,
Yes.
Mr. Tavernier? Yes. Mr. Dieter,
Aye.
Mr. Matzat,
No.
Dr. Lauk,
Yes.
Ms. Hannon,
Yes.
Mr. Devon.
Yes. Vote is 6-1, motion carries. Thank you. We have a reading for petition number 2, please.
A proposed ordinance of GFE Enterprises LLC to zone from B Business District to C Commercial District and to terminate the written commitments and final site plan required by ordinance number 17-15 and APC petition number 2733-15. Property located at 13183 State Road 23 Highway, St. Joseph County, APC number 3063-25.
Good afternoon, Fariel Sharif, Area Plan Commission staff. We have a request to remove written commitments and rezone to C Commercial to allow a commercial car wash. The property is currently zoned B Business District. For some time, this property and the one at the corner of Cherry Road and State Road 23 were under shared ownership. Currently, the corner property, it's this one here, contains an optometry office or an eye clinic. In the past, that corner property was zoned OB office buffer, and the subject property was zoned R single family. In 2015, the property owners wanted to expand the eye clinic, but they couldn't do that under the OB zoning, so they submitted a request to rezone that property along with this one to the business district. That was approved, subject to written commitments and a final site plan. Since car washes are only permitted in the commercial district, the petitioners need to rezone up to C Commercial, and in doing so, also have those written commitments and final site plan removed on this property. For the rest of the surrounding area, to the east is a Culver's drive-through restaurant that was rezoned from R single family to commercial to allow the Culver's in 2020. Across the street is a Dollar General retail store, zoned business, and 2 existing single-family homes. To the rear is a single-family home. To the northwest are townhomes that are individually owned. Those properties had received a special use in 2018 to allow multifamily dwellings on property that is zoned single-family. On site is a single-family house and accessory buildings. From my site visit, it appears the house is used to host a printing and design business. This is looking toward the Culvers and east toward the intersection of State Road 23 and Adams Road. So there has been a trend of rezonings to non-residential uses along SR 23, at least since 2002. Most of these more intense uses have been concentrated near that Adams Road intersection, resulting in a sort of commercial node down that way. Here's the same view from the other side. Historically, rezonings that have been done closer to the intersection of 23 and Cherry Road have typically been for more transitional, less intense non-residential uses, including the eye clinic that I mentioned. Another example would be a funeral home, which is at the southwest corner of Cherry and 23, and an insurance office at the northwest corner. State Road 23 is a 4-lane road with a center turn lane. All right, you can see those townhomes in the back left of this picture. This is the west property line of the subject property, so the eye clinic is beyond those trees. And here is the property line that's shared with the townhomes. That's the Culvers. And this is the single-family home to the rear. And I included this picture, which is taken from the eye clinic entrance, just to show the additional residential area along Cherry Road. So as I mentioned, when they rezoned this property in 2015, they made it subject to written commitments, which added a final site development plan they have to follow. Those would be removed on this property if this rezoning were approved. Here's that final site plan from 2015. In the written commitments and in the final site plan, they call this property Parcel B and the eye clinic Parcel A. The written commitments are mostly relevant to Parcel A, but the site plan limits Parcel B to what's shown on the plan and also limits it to retail use permitted in the B district. Going into the site plans provided by the petitioner today, they are showing a commercial car wash with an approximately 4,900 square foot building. There would be an outdoor area for vacuuming cars. They're also showing a 25-foot wide berm along the areas abutting the residential zoning. It would be served by municipal sewer and a private well. The county engineer stated that the site needs to meet all standards for stormwater management and drainage, and that unless the petitioner plans to use underground chambers for stormwater management, it does not appear that enough room has been reserved for this purpose on the current site plan. The developer will have to coordinate with INDOT for the access. The county health department stated that the site must meet requirements for adequate surface and groundwater drainage, and that all wastewater must be discharged and treated. The car wash would have 1 bay and 3 lanes to queue based on this site plan. Staff does also note that they would have to meet all development standards of the zoning ordinance, including type 2 landscaping abutting residential and regulations related to parking and drive-throughs. They have also provided these exterior elevations showing the building at 21 feet tall. And these are renderings of the facility. Staff has reviewed the petition against state law criteria and recommends this be sent to the county council with an unfavorable recommendation. For the comprehensive plan, we do find it to be in alignment with some of the goals of the comp plan. This State Road 23 corridor is considered an economic development priority corridor in our plan and an overlay area for infill development. So it is in line with goals such as promote the identified priority areas and corridors as prime locations for new development and ensure investment for infill and redevelopment of vacant, previously used, underutilized, or vacant properties. However, when we look at the future land use map of our comp plan, this area is specifically recommended for light commercial. The plan describes that as areas often adjacent to residential area, as well as office and business uses. This designation is intended to serve as a buffer between residential areas and more intense commercial uses. So the rezoning to higher intensity commercial is not in line with the land use map of the comp plan. As for current conditions and character, we noted there has been rezonings to non-residential uses along 23, but the most intense of these are concentrated at the intersection of 23 and Adams Road, and there are still residential uses near to this property, including new multifamily homes. Given that, we find the most desirable use would be one that complements the existing adjacent businesses and residences, but does not result in excessive light, noise, or outdoor activity, such as the range of uses permitted in B. For property values, the higher intensity commercial development could adversely impact the value of the nearby residential properties. And finally, for development and growth within areas between residential uses and commercial uses should generally be carefully planned to mitigate impacts on existing areas, and allowing a rezoning that opens the site up to higher intensity uses could affect those adjacent areas. And then just to bring up the zoning map one more time, basically staff finds this specific area provides for a sort of transitional buffer between the more intense uses to the east, the red ones, and the remaining residential uses to the west and across the street, which is the yellow. And keeping it under a business zoning, which corresponds with light commercial in our future land use map, would preserve that. So we recommend unfavorably on the rezoning at this time. We have also received 2 letters of remonstrance. One is from the property owner who owns property directly to the rear there. They cite concerns about impacts to the value of their property and surrounding ones, concerns about increased noise and traffic directed toward their home, as well as increased lighting that could be a nuisance. The other letter we received is from a resident who lives in one of the townhomes there, who cites similar concerns related to light and noise pollution that could affect their quality of life, and states that the commercial developments like car washes could deter residential appeal and market value, and they also state some environmental concerns like wastewater. You should have a copy of both of those letters, and I can take any questions at this time.
Thank you, Fario. Any questions? Seeing none, I will now open this to petitioner. Can we have the presentation? Brian, you have 30 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Devon. My name is Brian McMorrow. I'm an engineer and land development project manager at V3 Companies in Mishawaka. With me also to answer any questions if they come up is John Wyant. He is the founder, owner, and operator of the John's Auto Spa franchise. And Adam Tahoka of DJ Construction. They've been retained by Mr. Wyant to be the design build contractor should we secure the rezoning approvals that we are seeking. And they've prepared the concept plan that was included in your packet. So why this property? You know, it seems like there was a tall order. Well, customers that use the John's Auto Spa at Grape and McKinley have approached the managers there, and they said, boy, we'd love to have a John's Auto Spa up in Granger. We travel all that way. We like your services. We'd like to have it up in our neighborhood. So in response to customer comments, Mr. Wyant began to look for properties in the Granger area. Car wash is a neighborhood service, and the customers are typically those that live in the neighborhood or drive by on their way to work. So our challenge was to make the case to adjacent residents, to this plan commission, and to the county council that this particular use on this particular site plan are akin to those retail uses that are already allowed under the prior written commitment and site plan that was attached to it. So that written commitment and approved site plan, again, which is 10 years old now, does allow for retail in this transitional buffer area of sorts. Under the county zoning ordinances, the retail uses that are permitted would include things such as the sales and service of business machines, a department store, electrical and household appliance stores, food and grocery stores, hardware stores, liquor stores, music instrument sales and service, paint and wall covering stores, and on and on. A wide range of retail uses are allowed by right on this particular property and in accordance with that written commitment site plan. And maybe Faryal, if you could just go back to that written commitment plan. Right here, and I don't know if you can zoom in or not. If you can't, what's colored in gray, where the property is somewhat pinched between Route 23 and the adjacent townhomes, and maybe I can point to that. to 13,650 square feet in floor area. But note that it wraps around the townhome properties that are to the north and west there, and that it is positioned only 20 feet from the adjacent property line, separated only by a double row of pine trees. The back face of that retail building would face those townhomes, and again, the only obligation is that it be separated by a double row of pine trees. There's nothing in the written commitments that I saw that that backside of the building should be enhanced in any way so it looks like a front, for example. Note two, just to the north of the building, there's a dumpster which aligns directly with the common drive between the townhomes on both sides of that driveway. And a common trait for all retail uses, all those that I described and those that are allowed in the ordinance, is that the merchandise gets shipped in boxes. Those boxes get broken down and they get run out to the dumpster and probably collected almost daily, if depending upon the nature and the mix of retail uses in that strip center. There could also be food waste that is stored in that trash and collection area, and odors from food prep that might happen at a food or grocery retail store, again, that's allowed by the written commitment and the zoning ordinance. So, I mentioned earlier, it's been 10 years since that written commitment was signed. Traffic counts taken by the county show that in 10 years, there's been an increase of traffic from 14,000 some cars 10 years ago to almost 19,000 today. There's probably a reason why this site has been overlooked for infill development that the comprehensive plan asks for. And Farial even suggests that there might be a flaw in the written commitment site plan, because the best scenario is one in which that approved site plan is removed and the property remain or be zoned business. So what we did, again, knowing our challenge was pretty tall here, is we reached out to residents who live in that townhome neighborhood to the north and the west, and also to the two residents who are right behind us on Adams Road. We met on a snowy night in mid-January with a couple of the residents, at least while they're both here tonight, this afternoon, and we met again a second time in February. So what we heard on that first evening is that, and I'm glad they're here to back me up so I'm not telling stories out of school, is that the residents that live there today feel somewhat vulnerable with the site in its present condition. There's only that one old farmhouse that sits on the property. The vegetation that's there doesn't provide an adequate screen for the business that's there, nor does it provide an adequate buffer from the noise and the light that emanates from Route 23. And even what we heard, the Goodwill store across the highway that has a speaker box, they can hear that, I guess, if the wind is blowing a certain way. We heard is that there's pedestrian cut-through traffic, the way the site is today, from the Culvers to Cherry Road and back and forth, that goes through their townhome community. Looking then at the plans that were more or less the plans that we showed you in our package, they were concerned about headlight glare that might come from cars that were queuing up to our car wash. But they liked, as part of our plan, and you can see it here, there's a 25-foot wide bermed landscape buffer that we're proposing to put along that westerly edge between our property and the townhomes. So that is a wider buffer than is approved as part of the written commitments and the site plan that went with it. But the fact that it's bermed, that earthen berm and the landscaping with it, is going to help screen not only the view of the car wash as we propose it, but hopefully begin to absorb some of that sound that might be coming from the highway. Of course, addressing concerns that we heard on those 2 evenings and we heard about tonight, site lighting, state-of-the-art lighting these days. We can have, strict cutoffs so that the lights only shine on our property. We can time them in such a way that after hours, we only have those lights on that provide security. And we are also, as shown in the architectural building elevations, treating all sides of the building as if they were the front of the building. But out of respect to the fact that we have residential neighbors to our west, all of the customer, the transactional part happens on the east side, facing the highway. There's nothing other than staff parking on that west side, and that building is going to be set 60 feet from the property line, whereas the approved site plan could be 20 feet from the site, the property line. Our building footprint is 4,900 square feet, and the approved written commitment is almost 2 or 3 times that. It's, again, 13,650. So we're providing a smaller building footprint, much further away from those townhomes than somebody would have the right to build today and go and get a building permit for. So for those reasons, we believe that what we're proposing actually is at least as good as the retail uses that might otherwise be permitted, and in many ways is better than what could be built by right. So in conclusion, I would respectfully request, again, that this site does address those concerns that were noted here in those letters of remonstrance, do or are sensitive to the desire to have some sort of transitional zone between commercial and residences. And again, this site, they don't generate food. There are no boxes that come. Cars come in, they go out. It's just water circulating and recirculating through the facility. So the trash collection is going to be far less for this site than it would be for a typical retail site. Again, I'm happy that we have some residents with whom we met here today that can say for their own the experience they've had in getting to know us, both John Wyatt, the owner and operator, and the design team that he's assembled. So I respectfully request that this petition be sent along with a favorable recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Any questions?
What would be the typical hours of operation for an operation
John,
like this?
we'll let John come up and answer that. Again, this is John Wyatt of John's Auto Spa.
John Wyatt, 12 Boulder Court, Napanee, Indiana. Our hours of operation is 7:30 to 8 o'clock during the summer, and then 7:30 to 7:30 during the winter hours.
Thanks.
This started in 2015?
There was a rezoning petition and a site plan that was filed in 2015,
All right.
yes.
For that location or a different location?
For this location, as well as the property just to the west on the corner, which has since been developed as a medical office.
Okay.
That was parcel A, this is parcel B. That was part of that 2015 case.
Okay.
So just to clarify, oftentimes when rezonings are done, they're done subject to a final site plan. We don't do them as often anymore, but they used to be done quite often. In the past, in 2015, there already was a medical office or eye clinic at that corner. And it was zoned office buffer. It was not zoned residential, and this property was zoned residential. But they had the same ownership. So when they went to rezone the eye clinic to business, which they had to do in order to expand it, they also said, well, we also want to rezone, this property as well. What was put on the final site plan in 2015 was ultimately never developed, and that's why they're coming here today to
Okay.
give an alternate one.
And you said you met with neighbors twice?
We have.
How many people did you meet?
The first evening, there were 2, and the second time, we had 7.
Okay. And how did you advertise that?
I hand-delivered letters on the first time, and I used the U.S. Postal Service the second time.
And how many hand-delivered letters went out?
14.
Only 14?
Yeah.
Okay. And that, the residents are within 200 yards, 1,000 yards, quarter
We
mile?
chose the townhomes that are just to the upper left-hand side there, and the 2 homes that you can see on the top
Okay.
with frontage on Adams.
All right, so that was the extent of reaching out?
It was.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions?
I have a question to follow up on Commissioner Dieter's. With regard to the letters that you handed out, were these to people who are renting or people who own the property?
These, is to the best of my knowledge, all of the units are owner-occupied.
Okay. If there's no other questions, I'll go ahead and open this to the public. Thank you, Brian. Is there anybody present wishing to speak in favor of this petition? Please come forward and state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes. Seeing none. Is there anybody online wishing to speak in favor of this petition? Please use the raise hand feature. Seeing none. Anybody present wishing to speak against this petition, please come forward and state your name and address. You'll have 3 minutes.
Okay, all right. So my name is Eric Kimbler. I live at 51100 Cherry Road in Granger, Indiana. Couple quick things first. I'm fighting a cold, so I apologize for that with voice and stuff. And I've been in education my entire life, and I can speak in front of a room of teenagers, no problem, but this is like being sent to the superintendent's office for me, so I'm a little nervous in front of you 6, 7, that's why I'm an English teacher, 7, got it, okay? And first of all, I want to say thank you to, and I hope I say this right, Farial, thank you so much. Like, she helped out, answered a lot of questions, and I really, really appreciate that. So I just want to take a quick second to respond to what I just heard. So you only know what you know, and I've never done anything like this before, never had a situation like this before. So when we got the letters, I went the second time, my fiance and I, and when something's presented to you as it's already done, like it's like this is how it's going to be, and so let's work together on this. And now that I know that that's not the case, and in fact, hearing the report, that I feel better, that, you know, the unfavorable recommendation makes me feel a little bit better, because I'm 100% opposed to this, and not just the car wash, but just rezoning in general. Now that I understand what rezoning will mean when it comes to possible businesses that could go on there, that if it gets rezoned, that's where you get into the light pollution, the noise pollution, definitely a property value decrease. I can honestly tell you that I don't think my fiance and I would have moved into our resident if there was a business like this, whether it was a car wash or not, that is right, because we were actually in the pictures. We're 51100. We're literally, it's in our backyard. Like, this will be put in our backyard right there. And to me, it doesn't matter how many bushes, trees you have. Like, you know, we're 2 stories, so we'll still be able to see it. And again, I would just, I even thought about a possible solution. as I'm fairly new to the Granger area, and there's all kinds of other business areas that seems like there's open property where it's already like other bigger businesses that aren't near residential areas like our townhomes. And so I thought maybe that might be a possible solution. I always try to find solution. I teach my students that, so I thought I better live it out. And here's the other thing I would say too. You can tell by my hat that I'm a Detroit Lions fan, and
30 seconds left.
haven't I suffered enough as a Lions fan? So I guess I'm going to leave you with a question. Okay, what if this was your backyard? What if this was with your kids, your family, your grandkids? How would you feel about that? Because I wanted to come here tonight in person. I could have sent an email, but I wanted to put a name and a face with this. Like I said, I teach my students about the ripple effect. I taught in Logansport for over 20 years, moved up here, teach at a middle school now, and
Please wrap up
you
your
have a
thoughts.
chance to change lives. So thank you for your time. Sorry.
Thank you, Eric.
I hate to be tardy. Sorry.
No, you're- Anybody else wishing to speak against this petition, please come forward and state your name and address. You have 3 minutes.
My name's Josh. I live at 51086 Cherry Road. It's one of the townhouses. My wife and I are ultimately against it. The main thing that makes us against it is rezoning is commercial. When we found out that they have higher limits for noise pollution and sound pollution, that concerns us. I do appreciate that they're willing to build a natural barrier and a berm there, but they may go out of business 2 years from now, 5 years from now. And what about the next business that goes there? That could greatly affect it. My wife and I, this is our lifetime house, like our end house. We don't plan on moving, we customize everything. So to give you guys an example why noise pollution and light pollution are so much of a concern, if there wasn't a roof on our townhouse and I grabbed an apple in my kitchen, I'd be able to throw it and not just hit where the car wash building will be, I'd be able to throw it over the car wash. That's how close it is. So that's a concern if that is made commercial and there's higher light pollution and noise pollution. Something that was a little bit misconstrued, I just wanted to clarify. The foliage that's there now is not passable. The concern was that if they build, they would remove that foliage and then it would become passable. So right now our townhouses are a dead end. It's not a thoroughfare, people can't cut through there. But if a business is put there, then they were addressing that they would put a berm and foliage to make it so that it wasn't a thoroughfare, because there's a neighborhood right there, and we don't want people cutting through the townhouses, going to Culver's, and there's a Taco Bell across the street and so forth. So right now, it's impassable. And then in the springtime, when there's leaves on it, we can't even see the business that's right next to us. So I think that's pretty much all I had to say is that I'd much prefer to see, insurance agent or something like that go there than, something that's as high traffic. So I think that's it. Thanks for, my name is Josh. Yep, Josh Efforts.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you.
Anybody else present? Oh,
I'm sorry, the one last thing that I wanted to add is if they do build, I would like to see that it's like put in writing that they have to replace that foliage or something, so that it's impassable there, so.
Good afternoon. My name is Phil. I also live in the Cherry Road Townhomes, 51084. I also do oppose the redevelopment of this for a car wash. Again, looking back, it's been 10 years since this original site plan was developed back in 2015. We're looking at two portions, one business A, one business B. Business A obviously being an eye clinic. I'd really love to see the current lot of land in business B to remain business B, and if it is eventually developed, to be developed in some type of office, medical, something that's not heavily used. As you can see, this car wash is really right up against our neighborhood. As Josh said, I mean, if we didn't have a roof over our heads, we could literally throw an apple right over it. You know, again, if we can possibly look at keeping it as light business, I'd be all for that. There currently are several car washes in the area already. The other thing that concerns me is the amount of water availability that's in the area. I know Granger has had, and I'm new to the area as well, has had some challenges with water issues within the ground. So that's something to take into consideration as well. And then, of course, you know, having something like this, you know, probably would affect our home values. So again, I thank you for your time.
What was your last name?
First name Phil, last name Silverman, and it was 51084 Cherry Road.
Thank you.
Thank you, Phil.
Thank you, everyone. I'm Jenny Borg. I live with Eric, the lucky woman. That's the fiance of Eric at 51100 Cherry Road. I just want to echo what everybody has said. We live in the corner, so this literally would wrap around our house. I know they're willing to put some foliage and things in between, but literally our bedroom window would look over everybody vacuuming their car out there, and this is my dream home. When we moved in, I didn't know that house was business. I thought it was residential. Note to self to do some more research when I'm moving in. But it would just be so difficult for us. Dream home, this is where we want to be. I can't imagine having this car wash wrap around our house and what that would do to our property value and just our lifestyle, wanting to stay there and being so happy where we're at. So I appreciate you all listening to us.
Jenny?
Hello again. I don't live in the region. I live on 21677 Aughton Road, South Bend. But I was listening to the presentation, and this is something that I'm seeing just across the board from Area Plan and all of the commissions. And I have been speaking about what's happening in the Amazon development with the wetlands. And I think that applies to this as well. There's just entirely too much crowding going on with these developments, and I understand that some of these distances were approved a long time ago, but crowding is a physical, medical problem and a mental, emotional problem. For all of us who are living in these regions, we're crowding our animals, we're crowding our food production, we're crowding buildings and traffic and houses too close together. That's part of why the noise pollution is such a problem. And it's not just all from traffic, it's from just people's lawnmowers and leaf blowers and just normal living activity. And so I just want to bring to the Commission's attention that I think as we go forward with all of these developments, space and distance is a key to health for air quality, water quality, soil quality, and medical quality. Thank you.
Deborah, I know we know your name, but if you could say it for the record, you didn't say your name.
Oh, I didn't? Oh, I'm sorry. Deborah Durrell.
Thank you. Anybody else present wishing to speak against this petition? Seeing none. Anybody online would like to speak against? Let's have Leanne.
Yes, can you hear me?
We can, go ahead.
Yes, my name is Leanne Jack. I own the property at 13206 Adams Road, and it's approximately 5 acres, a little less, and it's on the corner of Cherry and Adams Road. I am the home that is adjacent to this, to the north, and I am absolutely not in favor of this car wash going in my backyard. There were so many reasons why, and other people have stated them. I don't feel that I need to reiterate to you the same reasons and take your time up for that, as I have already sent an email to you. But I just wanted to say I'm very upset that this is going in to our residential area, and I would like to keep it as zoned B. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Leanne. Steve, go ahead.
Yes, hi, Steve Francis, 2-Day Lake Drive, Clay Township. I do not live nearby, and you've heard from the local folks who do, but I do want to put in a pitch for the recently completed comprehensive land use plan, and we'll be watching that closely as you make rezoning decisions because, you know, the ink's barely dry on that. I think I want to support staff in an unfavorable recommendation on the basis of what they said. I think from the neighbors, it's clear that an office buffer would be a much better designation, even rather than business or even commercial, or certainly than commercial. You know, I do have a thing about we're seeing so many car washes, but I think that would be appropriate elsewhere. It's up to them whether they can make it work or not. I guess people need, you know, there needs to be, you know, you know, we've seen a lot of car washes built, and I just don't think that that would be appropriate in this site given the staff recommendations. So I encourage you to follow your staff and follow the comprehensive plan as much as possible. You will have to make adjustments to it, but in this case, this looks like a kind of bait and switch thing that occurred, and you should keep it, you know, rezoned currently as it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Anybody else online wishing to speak against this petition? Seeing none, I will now close this to the public. Brian, you have 10 minutes to rebut.
Thank you. In response to the objections, I've made some notes. Just remember, you know, as I stated initially, this site is zoned for retail and can be developed by right with all of those retail uses and all of the trash and all the food odors that could come with it. The building as we propose it, with a footprint of 4,900 square feet, is far less than the building that is approved by right of 13,650 square feet. The building as approved would be as close as 20 feet to the property line, whereas our building is going to be 61 feet to the property line at the closest. With respect to demand on water, there would be a licensed well driller who would obviously be obligated to test the aquifer and drill it in accordance with all published county and state, you know, health codes. If for some reason there was inadequate water, this project wouldn't happen. And then with respect to the one comment that was made regarding what if the business were to fail and it was rezoned from business to commercial. I spoke with Mr. Wyant on that, and if for some reason this business were to fail, we are willing to enter into a written commitment that would revert the zoning back to business. I don't think I have any other responses to make. I do appreciate the opportunity that we had to engage with the residential neighbors on all sides, and the fact that they came out here this afternoon to make their positions known. Again, we do ask you to weigh all of that. You know, it's a tough one. I think I disagree with Mr. Francis. There's no bait and switch on our part here. We knew full well what the history was on this property, and quite honestly, we felt that given that history, this is a much better use of the property than even its current use. So thank you.
Brian, so I'm going to reiterate something here, right? Obviously, with growth, you have things that you're not going to be able to make everybody happy again, right? But, you know, I go through a car wash every day or every other day, and it's super loud. What kind of studies are there for the noise on the outside of the building, right? The vacuum's running constantly, you know, the car wash the sprayers. Unfortunately, I've never been through one of his car washes before, right? But
So I'm gonna, I think, defer to John and maybe even Adam on that, because John operates them, DJ builds them. You know, I am a customer at the one at Grape and McKinley, and I marvel at how quiet it is, especially the vacuums. The state-of-the-art technology that's employed there is really remarkable, but I'll let John and maybe Adam talk to that.
Okay, addressing the noise, as far as the outdoor vacuums, that's always like the biggest concern with everyone. Each vacuum spot does not have its own producer, whereas a lot of the old self-serves, you put your quarter in, you got this motor fires up. Ours is in one location, and then we just have what they call drops, vacuum hose drops. And everything goes back to a main vacuum motor, which is basically enclosed. We can make that. If you ever go to my Mishawaka site and use the vacuums, you will not hear the vacuum motor itself because it is contained inside a wall. We can actually enclose that if needed, which would put that motor completely inside. As far as the dryer room on the exit side, which is facing the road, again, I'd really encourage everyone to go by my Mishawaka site and see how quiet it is. Especially like if you were on the residential side, you would not hear the dryers at all because they're VFD driven, which unlike the old dryers, which would just fire up and run wide open, these have gates on them, which closes it's pretty sophisticated. They have gates which close when the dryer is not being used. Also, the VFD, the motors will ramp down as well, which saves on electrical pull and everything. So technology nowadays is, what I have now is considered old. Just like computers, the technology just keeps every year getting better and better. So I don't think there would be really an issue as far as noise. Also, I am dead against loitering in my vacuum area. I don't allow loud music. We've had people get upset because we go out there and tell them to turn their radio off, because not only some of the music that people like to play, it's just if you got a family there and you're vacuuming your car out, you don't want some things being played over the radio blaring. So I'm dead against that. We do get 1 stars just because of that. People get unhappy with us making them turn the radio down. So.
And I understand and I can appreciate that, right? But again, and apparently I'll have to go by the Mishawaka store because I just can't imagine that a car wash is going to be super quiet, right? And I guess that's what I'm trying to understand. You know, the light pollution from Goodwill that's already there, the lights from Culver's that's already there. You know, I know Brian brought up being able to have just the lights on from a certain amount of time just for security. This seems like one of those spots that, I mean, you'd have the lights if it was in a business and there was a 10,000 square foot facility there, right? I'm just trying to figure out how quiet it's actually going to be. It's not really something.
As far as light pollution on the west side there's no windows. And I've always been against wall pack lighting. So there wouldn't be any what they call the wall pack lighting, which would be shining west. And technically, I really don't even know much lighting would be needed on that area because there's no customers on that side. So again, with the technology of lighting as well,
One last thing. You just hold on a second. What is there, aside from the berm, right? Because we know kids will climb the berm and people climb the berm and all that. What else is going to be put in place to try to deter people from walking back and forth across there?
Well, I mean, we'll have landscaping. I don't know how high the berm.
Yeah, the berm would be about 4 foot high, and we'd have landscaping on top of it. At one point in time, we had talked about a fence also being there, but the visual appearance of a fence, I thought, was viewed as more objectionable than a tastefully landscaped berm.
Done, DJ?
And also, it just.
You really were presenting to teenagers, you just didn't know it.
And also,
Sorry.
and also.
High speed. How many, this is similar to your Grape and McKinley store?
This is much smaller.
Okay. How many outdoor vacuums do you have?
I've got 12 vacuum slots.
And then you said for loitering and music, who's going to enforce when?
We actually hire, well, that's one of our crew members, that's their job.
To move people along?
To maintain that.
So inevitably, somebody be out there with their doors open with music. So whoever your dude is to say that, and they say no, then what do you do?
Well, we have what we call license plate readers. They'll get their one shot, and that'd be it, and then they would be banned from the property. I'm strict on it. I gotta get.
I agree 100% because I'm a big car wash dude, and I go probably as much as you. And a different spot, some that have the inside stuff is awesome, but the outside, I've been a lot, and I don't like to go to those because, like I said, there's always going to be somebody of anything they've ever owned, they're taking it out of the car, there's going to be junk flying and all that.
Yeah,
so.
we always have a 10-minute limit as well. A lot of people don't like that because they want to spend 2 hours, detailing their car. So, I'm pretty tight on that stuff.
There was, Brian brought up, and I just checking with staff, I mean, they mentioned about doing a written commitment on, like, if it were to go under, putting it to go back, can they do that? Can we put a written commitment on that to, if they go out of business, that they zone it back to be business?
Personally, I don't care for it, because I mean, if you think that zoning is appropriate, you should think that it's appropriate for multiple users. So that's just my
It
take.
has been done before, as far as can it be done, but staff would probably, what, Sean? And yeah, that it is difficult to enforce. So for example, if a property has been zoned industrial and then the person wants to leave, a real estate agent might just market it as industrial, and then they're back here with whatever the next proposal is.
Okay, he mentioned it, so I just was
Yeah,
asking the
absolutely.
validity of that, so. Yeah. Any other questions? I've been torn. I drive by there, I mean, I've lived in Granger my whole life. I drive by there probably 6 times a day. Obviously, I mean, going through the comp plan process, and I was telling staff, I think my dad was on a 23 corridor review probably 20 years ago, but it never got adopted. So obviously, there's been some major changes along 23 over the years with going to a 5-lane highway, and I'm kind of torn on the whole thing because you see a lot of that going through, which rightfully so. It's a 5-lane highway. I mean, you're going to have high traffic. You're going to have businesses going there because it's got the infrastructure for it. It's got the sewer and water. It's got, or not the water, but the sewer for it. It's got the roads and the highway there. So it's right there. I've been torn on this whole thing on it is because commercial's right next door. So, but yeah, you do stop somewhere, and where does that stop? Where does that go? I do agree with Brian that this is less obtrusive than what could be there, from what he's saying, that's already been approved as written commitment. So I've been torn on the whole thing as it is, but I like, I've driven by some of their facilities, and they seem to be a very well-kept facilities. So I don't know about the whole written commitment thing. I mean, it's intriguing, but I agree. How enforceable is it if somebody does go out or they sell it to somebody else? So, but I do agree that whole corridor, I mean, it's kind of right there on the leading edge of the commercial section. So, I guess I'm not opposed to it, knowing that it's going to stop probably not far from there, but it's right there and it's right next door. So, but
You know, I've consulted again with John. If noise is an overriding, factor here, we'd also, if it's appropriate, ask to continue this hearing until all of you on the commission had a chance to go out and visit the site at Grape and McKinley. We'll come back next month and answer any other questions you might have. That's an option too. Again, we think for all the reasons that we stated that this is an appropriate use in the right spot, but we'll throw that out there as well.
as far as procedure goes, is there two motions, one to remove the written commitments, or is it just as a whole one thing?
Yeah, it's just as a whole.
It's okay. So it's just a
recommendation
rezoning.
to
We
a
don't have
county,
to-
yeah.
We don't
Mhm.
have to, okay.
Yeah.
I'm confused, I'm new here. Y'all asked me
There's
to
written
continue?
commitments on the property as it is right now.
Okay.
Because there used to be, there were site plan specific. We dropped that, I don't remember how many years ago. This has a site plan specific on this parcel with written commitments on it. So rezoning it would eliminate the written commitments is essentially what.
Yeah, so the request today is not just remove written commitments in final site plan, which we do get sometimes. The request today is to rezone up to commercial. And by rezoning up to commercial, they would effectively remove those written commitments anyway.
Gotcha.
What is the go out and visit an existing site and
I was in the middle of looking that up, but to Adam's question, I think technically the way that the request is worded on the agenda, if you wanted to give a favorable recommendation to removing the commitments in the site plan, but an unfavorable to rezoning, you could theoretically do that. That would take two motions. But if you don't want to treat them differently, you just think everything needs to stay where it is, it can be one motion.
just hope I don't have to vote first.
I'm gonna probably go first, but what are we gonna start voting? Are we voting on?
Nobody's made a
Yeah,
motion.
make a
Right,
motion.
but I understand, but did you want somebody continue or go back to the staff? Or no?
I was just talking through what I was
Okay.
kind of feeling. I wasn't making a motion yet, so.
Okay. Well, I'll make a motion. I'm gonna agree with the staff's unfavorable and along with the residents' unfavorable recommendation.
Dr. Lauk, I second.
We have a motion and a second. Where are we at here? For an unfavorable recommendation for APC 3063-25 to the St. Joseph County Council, again, with an unfavorable recommendation. Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Hannon?
Yes.
Dr. Lauk?
Yes.
Mr. Matzett?
Yes.
Mr. Tavernier?
I'm struggling with the site. I'm struggling with the potential for the lights, the potential for noise, the potential for
That's my vote.
been stealing the mic all day. Listen, I appreciate business, and clearly I'm in the wrong business, right? But I just don't see it for this position. Or for this spot. It just seems to me like it's going to be super loud, and there's just too much on one spot. But again, it was already slated for a 10,000 some square foot facility, so I think I'm going to say yes.
Dr. Thacker,
Yes.
Mr. Devon. Oh, no, Mr. Dieter, sorry.
No, I agree with his total comments on that. I'm a big car wash person. I like the car washes. I think they're good for the community, but I think that this spot isn't, that's, so I'm voting aye.
Mr. Devon.
Yeah, I was kind of on the fence if they could have it, written commitments to go back if it goes out of business, but I know the logistics of that is probably not going to happen, so I'll say yes. So the motion, vote is 7-0. Motion carries.
Just to answer DJ's question about tabling, unlike the BZA, the APC does not have like specific reasons to be required for tabling. A petitioner after the public hearing is allowed to request it, and you guys can just say yes or no.
Could I get a clarification on the decision that was just made?
They voted to send it unfavorably.
There were two parts to that motion. One was to recommend unfavorably dropping the written commitments and changing the zoning, right? So in essence, does everything stay the way it is if the council accepts the motion? That site plan?
If the council does, it says, we agree with area plan and votes
Right.
no on the
Then
final
everything stays
thing.
the
Everything
same?
stays the same.
Okay, thank you.
But the council could change that. They
The
could-
council doesn't have to do what they
Right.
said. They
could
could adjust it.
eliminate the
but-
written commitments if they want and leave it be business, right? I mean,
Theoretically, but I have been informed by staff that the ordinance that was actually submitted to the council didn't really mention that as a separate thing.
okay,
But theoretically.
okay. Okay. Do we have any item? We do have a couple, at least one item, couple minutes for not requiring a public hearing. We have some findings of the facts to approve.
I make a motion to approve the finding of facts.
We have a motion, a second, to approve the February 18th, 2024 fight. And that'd be 25, I'm assuming?
Yeah, should be
25?
It's, I think it's 25 in the,
Oh,
what's actually in your packet, like the actual.
Yes,
findings.
the actual findings of fact in the
Yeah,
packet
we'll
say
do that.
2025.
Just
All
a
right.
typo on the agenda.
so we have a motion, a second, to approve the February 18th, 2025 meeting, the findings of the facts. Vote, please.
Mr. Tavernier. Yes. Dr. Thacker,
Yes.
Ms. Hannon,
Yes.
Dr. Lauk,
Yes.
Mr. Matzat,
Yes.
Mr. Dieter. Mr. Devon.
Yes.
You don't have to do those for a roll call vote, just so, for reference.
We have minutes for February 18th to approve as well. Do we have any corrections?
Online, you're okay.
Go ahead.
See if I can find them. I know there was page 9 in one place listed Adam's name as, it dropped the first A.
I've been called lots of things.
I'm trying to find that now. I thought it was page 9. My notes.
I see it. Dan?
Hey, you know,
Yeah. Well, we can approve it subject. to
whatever you want to call me, I'm okay with. Any other corrections?
I had a couple more, but they were just editing errors or.
Okay. Want to make a motion?
I make a motion to approve the minutes, Dr. Lauk, with the corrections noted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of February 5th, February 18th, 2025. with the approved corrections. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Do we have a motion for adjournment?
So moved. Second.
Motion is.
Jinx.
We have a motion and a second for adjournment. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you, everybody.